Many people, especially in Western contexts, still believe that Buddhism is not a religion but rather a philosophy, a self-development system, or even just a way of life. This is a widespread and understandable view, but it's also a misleading one, and over time it can distort how we understand one of the world's most influential religious traditions. Today I will explain why Buddhism is absolutely a religion, why this debate still exists, even in contemporary understandings, and what it tells us about our broader assumptions around religion. So, is Buddhism a religion? The short answer is yes, absolutely. Why? Because what we call Buddhism fits neatly into the term religion. Here's where the tricky part begins. We don't have a generally accepted definition of religion. However, we do have several definitions that are similar in meaning and, most importantly, similar in essence. For example, Wikipedia provides us this definition. While it is very broad, it's pretty obvious that Buddhism fits all the criteria. Émile Durkheim, the founding father of sociology, provides the following definition. Religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things. That is to say, things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite into one single moral community called a church, all those who adhere to them. Pay attention to the emphasis on the one church and followers. Here, many find it difficult to relate Buddhism to the definition, and this view will be considered later. Now I will note in advance that, in my opinion, even such a definition is accurate for Buddhism as a religion. But to accurately answer once and for all whether Buddhism is a religion, I will appeal the pioneer of secular religious studies, Ninian Smart, and his theory of the aspects of religion. Let's examine Buddhism in all the aspects presented, but before I go any further, consider liking and subscribing for more rare academic content like this. First one, doctrinal aspect. All schools and branches of Buddhism recognize the official canon of the Tripitaka. The difference in recognition may only be in the smallest details, but 95% of the entire canon is recognized by all followers. The Tripitaka is so important in the Buddhist world that a Chinese monk Xuanzan traveled thousands of kilometers for this very canon. This story later formed the basis of a book, Journey to the West. But what about myths? Isn't Buddhism supposed to be rational? Turns out even the Zen tradition, which is popular in the West and considered minimalistic, is full of symbolic stories and parables. Moreover, the life of Buddha is the most important myth for Buddhism, as it is the story that proves the possibility of any human being able to achieve the enlightenment. Ethical aspect is of course present in all tradition. It is one of the bases of all self-improvement, but ritual aspect is a tricky question. Many people believe that the Abrahamic religions are full of rituals and the Eastern religions have an essence that can be expressed only by pure philosophy. But this is not the case. It happened because the Eastern religions were brought to the West in a simplified and slightly revised form. Yes, indeed all Buddhist teachings can be reduced to a basic set of ethical and philosophical principles, still remaining within the canon. But if we look at those peoples who have practiced Buddhism historically, then, as everywhere in the context of religion from birth, we see a variety of different rituals for every occasion. Next, experiential aspect is obviously present in tradition. Since Buddhism requires experiencing all levels of achieving enlightenment only through one's own experience, the institutional aspect is also present in Buddhism. In its traditional form, Buddhism requires the presence of a teacher for the most successful understanding of the teaching. Moreover, even in early Buddhism, such concepts as Sangha were introduced, meaning a monastic community. Finally, the material aspect can be observed everywhere in Buddhism. Moreover, it is worth to remember that broad symbolism can also be attributed here. 7 aspects, 7 clear matches. If Buddhism fits every modern criterion of religion, how can we still say it isn't one? But the question arises, why such confusion might have occurred in the first place? Well, I have already partially given the answer. 2 factors played a role. First, the study of religion by institutionalized science historically began with the Abrahamic religions. Very often scholars considered belief in the supernatural or even in God as an obligatory attribute of religion. Also, the role of centralized church as an organization has always been considered important in the definition, as noted earlier in Durkheim's definition. Second, Buddhism itself, like many other Eastern religions, was presented to the Western public, including scholars themselves, in a simplified and paraphrased form. Here it can be noted that it was Zen Buddhism that became popular in the West precisely due to the absence of an overload of rituals and complex philosophical texts. To some extent, this can be considered a coincidence. However, it is important to understand that modern science, including European, has long since revised the criteria. Buddhism fits into the definition of almost all modern theories, but still, many ordinary people have difficulties with perceiving Buddhism as a classical religion. Old understandings of the term religion, which may still be present in some school textbooks, and one's own background, if not of the Abrahamic religion as such, but at least of the culture based on it, add complexity to this issue. But what to do with it then? Well, for starters, obviously get the message across to people that the modern understanding of the term has moved on. Perhaps it's worth using actual forms of adherence to the religion of Buddhism in traditionally Buddhist cultures more often. Yes, many call Buddhism a philosophy or a way of life, and that's partially true. But that doesn't mean it's not a religion. The real issue is oversimplification. Reducing Buddhism to meditation and ethics erases its rituals, myths, institutions, and sacred texts. Here, many hidden meanings may be lost. Instead of asking, is Buddhism a religion? We should ask, what do we mean by religion? A broader modern understanding shows clearly Buddhism fully fits into definition. Recognizing this helps us better understand both Buddhism and religion itself. So, after all, what do you think? Is Buddhism still too far from every other religion to be considered as one? If this video helped clarify anything for you, consider giving it a like, subscribing, or even supporting the channel on Patreon. It really helps me keep making deep, thoughtful content like this. Thank you.